All right, we're rolling.
Nice.
So I have your permission to video?
You do, yes.
All right, and I'll check with you when we're done about publishing it.
Okay.
So I'm sitting here with Steven. Steven has been, so we're a little bit away, so
Yeah.
speak up.
Probably gonna have to speak up, yes.
Yeah. Steven, you've been at some of our emergency services and our longer term services. Where have you been in Boulder since you arrived, and how long ago was that?
I arrived here maybe almost 5 months ago from Phoenix.
Yeah.
When I first got here, I did do the severe weather services. Back then they were doing them church to church.
Right.
And that was a pain in the butt. It really freaking was.
Yeah.
But I eventually got into the bridge house, like maybe a week after I got here.
So that's a good starting point. You were here for a week, and you went to coordinated entry?
Yes, I did go to coordinated.
And so even though you'd only been here a week, they took you into Path to Home?
Yes, they sent me Path to Home.
So that's like new knowledge for a lot of us, because one of the things we heard is that if you haven't been here for 30 days, there was going to be nothing available. And there's a lot of misinformation, so this is really helpful, and I appreciate it.
They did say something like that, but they were telling me that was the Boulder shelter.
Yeah, so the reserve bed. And I'm going to move the camera closer. I'm worried about not hearing you, so
Okay.
I'm just going to sit across from you and video you.
That works.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so you were here for a week. You did severe weather shelter at the different churches and synagogues, and then they got you into Path to Home.
Right. Yeah.
All right. That was what month?
That I came here September 28th, so it was like the beginning of October is when I finally got into the bridge house.
All right. So we were talking before we start videoing here. Path to Home is supposed to be, back in the day when they came up with that program, it was supposed to be for people who averaged getting out of homelessness and resolving their issues within a week. And how long are people staying there?
Oh, on average months. Like I know just about maybe 20 people in there that have been there longer than me, and I've been there for almost 4 months.
Right. And I want to be clear, like, thank goodness they are not kicking people out for time problems.
They actually just did today. There was a person that I was pretty close with that they did kick out because of time.
That was it?
It was it. Literally, they told him because his time was up. He's overstayed his welcome.
So there's always lots to a story. What happens? Would you say that, like, was that person working with their case manager?
Yeah.
And maybe we need to back up. People who are watching this don't know anything. So what happens with some of them? So when you come to Path to Home, can you talk about what the goal is, what the resources are, case management, what that all looks like?
Well, I can give you two things. I can tell you the official story they tell me and the actual things they do.
Okay.
They say they're supposed to help me get off the streets. They're going to help me find housing, help me find a job, help me with bus passes to get to and from to work, eyeglass voucher, pretty much anything I need they cover. Unfortunately, they don't. I asked when I first got there, I got a list of jobs, and when I went to go apply, every single one of them was filled. I've been waiting almost 5 months for me to get my birth certificate that they ordered when I first got here, or supposedly ordered. And they just don't really give many services. Case management with them is simple. It literally has been as simple as me walking in there, and they go, "Anything new?" And I'm like, "Nope, everything's cool." They're like, "All right, have a good one."
So a birth certificate, I've had to order one, and I know a lot of people do. I mean, typically, do you have any idea why that delay?
No, I have no idea.
Okay.
When I talk to case management, they say it can take at least 6 months to get, which I've gotten a birth certificate from Arizona before. It takes 30 days. It don't take that long.
All right. So you said that the job listing was, I would call that stale.
Oh yeah, stale.
But you got a job. When I first started chatting with you, you had a job.
Yep, I got a job within a week of me getting there. I started working at the Millennium Hotel as a line cook.
Yeah, and was that through? How did you get that?
The Millennium Hotel actually hosted a job fair, and the HR lady was roaming around the halls, and she actually scouted me. She didn't have a tent or anything.
Mm-hmm.
She just said, "I like the way you talk, and I heard you talk about your situation."
Did you hear about that through Bridge House or any of the services?
No, I heard that from Harvest of Hope.
Okay.
That's where I got that information.
All right. And Harvest of Hope is just right around the corner.
It's pretty nice. It's a really nice program.
All right. So the other service that's in the same building is Severe Weather Shelter, right? And the difference between that and Path to Home for people watching?
It's night and day.
What do they do and who's it for?
Well, they say it's for anybody that's not seeking services, but it's mainly a punishment for people in the Bridge House. They kick us out on the regular, so we constantly have to sleep in the severe weather shelter, or on cases like tonight, outside.
Yeah. So tonight it's February 1st. I know in the morning the predicted low was about 37. If I looked at the right spot, 80306 on National Weather Service. But right now I'm looking and it says it's going to be 31 degrees, and they don't change that. That's the policy. So whatever it is at 5 in the morning, if there's going to be a severe weather storm moves in, they made their decision.
Yeah.
And I will, my own opinion is that policy comes from the city. So I would not point at Bridge House.
No.
They do what they're told on that. They're funded by the city. But yeah, you're going to be outside tonight. It's predicted to be 31. So last time I saw you was a Wednesday night, same sort of predicament. It was predicted to be 33 degrees, which is 1 degree above the threshold. And you had a cold. You've been sick. You spent the night outside in a sleeping bag, I think.
Yeah.
And what happened after that?
I didn't recover, and
all my money on that.
I ended up losing my job because of it. I couldn't recover because during the day I had to stay outside in the cold, and during the night I had to stay out in the cold. So I didn't really have a chance to recover, and it got so bad that I was sick for 2 weeks straight. And
Did you get medical care?
I was hospitalized twice.
Was that before or after sleeping out that night?
One before and one after.
Okay. And so you missed. I'm bringing this up with a very pointed direction because shortly after that, the city council chose not to open severe weather shelter, which is walk-up shelter available to anyone if it's below freezing or at freezing. And I'm pointing this out because one of their reasons for not choosing to just open it all winter long is that people would not go through coordinated entry and seek housing services if it was just too easy to choose to use severe weather shelter. But you had gone through coordinated entry.
I did.
You had whatever issues, and you were in severe weather shelter as the fallback option. You were working.
I was.
Okay. So would you say, is losing a job a good path to a home?
No. There's actually a funny saying that the homeless community have dubbed the Path to Home shelter. We don't call it Path to Home, it's the Path to Homeless. Because unfortunately they kick us out for the slightest offenses. And the way this whole coordinated entry system works, once we get kicked out, we can't go anywhere else in the whole county. So we're pretty much, if we don't follow their rules, and their rules are so arbitrary, they make up new rules every time. And they pick and choose who the rules apply to, and it's almost like it's a huge favoritism show. It really is.
Yeah. So I also want to acknowledge the difficulty that the staff has. They have how many, like for in severe weather shelter, how many people are working overnight?
We only have one person working severe weather shelter, and there's on any given night at least 70 people in that small cramped building.
So I'm sure what we would hear from someone working the overnight shift is that if you have 70 people and you have one person managing, like anyone who starts making it difficult for them can really be a problem.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So I think it's fair of us to put it in context that the city's paying enough and Bridge House is only able to have one staff member in there. So reflecting on that as a piece of this, like not throwing Bridge House under the bus, completely. They have some number of resources. Can you talk about people getting kicked out, and maybe maybe we should start with Path to Home, because you've had to leave it and move to day-to-day severe weather shelter if it's open. So could you talk about people who've recently been finding themselves out of Path to Home? This more than I, but you're also reflecting what's been told to you and what you've seen.
Right.
So let's be fair, but let's also let people know, what's happening.
Yeah.
To the best of your ability.
Well, I could speak of two examples I know of. I only know part of one of the examples, and I know the whole story of the other because I was there. So I'll start with the one I know all about. Buddy of mine, two buddies of mine and I, we were breaking the rules. We were smoking marijuana on the property, and we knew we were wrong. Yeah, but they refused to kick me out. They kicked my buddy and the other buddy out for a week without any severe weather shelters.
So they refused to let them use severe weather shelter.
Straight
and you were able to remain, and you're...
I was in the full program. I didn't get kicked out. I didn't even get scolded.
Were they in severe weather shelter?
No.
They were in Path to Home also?
They were in Path to Home as well, yes.
Okay. So you attribute your being allowed to stay to what difference?
I don't know. I really don't know why they didn't kick me out. Honestly, they should have. They really should have, but that's kind of the problem, is they pick and choose who the rules apply to. But there's a continuation of that story that makes it even worse.
Okay.
So the next day, I'm fighting hard trying to get my buddy back to where they can at least stay somewhere warm. Because honestly, he's got schizophrenia. He's got a lot of mental challenges. Him in the cold's not a good idea. So I did what I can to help him out, but they said no, and then we were pretty pissed off. It was snowing that day, so we were in there's 3 different awnings in that building. We were on the far one smoking a cigarette, trying to keep the snow from getting our cigarettes wet and try to stay dry and warm and all that. There was a group of people that were trying to get into coordinated entry, or at least I assume they were. I've never seen them before. They had just butane torches out, nothing else. And Tim comes up, yells at me and my friends, and ends up kicking my buddy out for an extra week, just because we were sitting there smoking a cigarette and we just happened to be next to each other.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Were you in an area you're not supposed to be smoking in?
No, I say that there's no people that are always there over smoking. They don't really say, because that building is currently that part of the building's not being used.
Okay. So now let's fast forward to the last few days, because I was contacted by some folks and went and talked to them. And I'm going to be honest, I was honest with them when I talked to them. Like the gentleman that was kicked out, I don't want to say what he had done, but it was problematic.
It was.
But he was in Path to Home, and he has a partner who is pregnant. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many months pregnant, but she's far along. She's actually
due this month.
She's due soon.
Really soon, like within a couple weeks.
And she had, my understanding is gone to look to see if there were other services available outside the city of Boulder for a few days, and when she returned, she was removed from Path to Home.
Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, her partner was kicked out before she even got back, just because she wasn't there.
Because she wasn't there.
I witnessed the whole thing, so I saw Tim say, well, if she's not here, the only reason we let you back in was because of her, because she's pregnant. Okay. Now that she's not here and she's safe, you gotta go.
And then she returned.
And then both of them got kicked out of not only the path to home, but SWS. So now she has to sleep outside, and she's
So
8 months pregnant.
Let's break that down for people who may not follow what you just said and what that meant. They've gone through coordinated entry. He had his own problems. I'm not going to say he shouldn't have been removed from path to home. He broke some rules.
He did.
But she left and was looking for some other options, being pregnant, to see if there was something available. Is there any rule that you guys are given in writing that says if you leave path to home for more than some amount of time, you will not be allowed back?
It's not really a written rule, but they do give us 2 grace periods, like that, where we can just go out and do our own thing. If we want to get a hotel room for a couple nights, we can do that. We got to let them know. But her situation doesn't really fall under that because she got approval, she got into a new program, and then she ended up finding out that program wasn't something that worked for her. So she tried to come back, and...
So had she been gone for a while?
No, she was gone for maybe 4 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that outside the bounds of normal?
No,
experience?
I've seen people go about a week or 2 and then come back like nothing happened.
So she comes back, she's 8 months pregnant, and she's told, you're out.
You're out. Can't even, and no SWS at all.
So what that means is you can't even use the emergency walk-up service that's supposed to be for folks who haven't done coordinated entry, which she had done. All right. I mean, I don't know any more than what they told me and what you're sharing here. Who knows what frustrations Tim or others have had, right? But here's my thing, and I'm curious your thought, which is that severe weather shelter it's the last resort for people who have nothing.
It really is.
And if you get kicked out of path to home and you're told also severe weather shelter is not available, you can't go from severe weather shelter and walk into path to home and get some food, right?
No.
There's a division.
There is.
They're very clear that there's a division. So if you get kicked out of path to home, why is there no division that says you can still go to severe weather shelter? That's a different thing.
I honestly have no idea.
Yeah, me neither. All right. So, yeah, I'm not sure where to go next. I'm open to just anything you want to share. I mean, it's going to be 31 degrees tonight. What resources do you have?
I don't have anything. Luckily, this town is very giving. There's a lot of good resources for me to get the proper gear I needed. When I first got here, if I'd have got kicked out of severe weather shelter, I probably would have froze to death because I came here from Arizona. I went from 127 degree summer, literally immediately came to this freezing winter, and it was a big time shock.
Yeah. Well, what do you have for tonight? You say you don't have anything. Do you have a blanket, a bag?
Yeah,
Let's wait for a sec for that noise.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I do have a sleeping bag. I have my tent. My buddy let me borrow his tent. I have a nice little inflatable air mat that I have set up. So I'm gonna be pretty cozy tonight. But I've had 4 months to prepare for this.
All right. So if you hypothetically use that within the city boundary, that would all be illegal.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I always got to worry about that because I don't sleep very well on the streets because I'm worried about getting a ticket, and I can't afford a ticket.
Has that happened to you?
No, I haven't gotten a ticket yet, but I'm pretty good at hiding myself. So.
Gotcha. So that's one of the things I contend that the camping ban in Boulder is about. It's not that you can't use those things. You just better be out of sight. Like. So had you been homeless before you moved to Boulder?
Not really. Not true homelessness like this. I was struggling to keep a place, couch surfing for a good while. But this is my first experience with homelessness.
All right. And I mean, I've met people like yourself. You've been into it for a little while, but I met someone who was staying under an overpass by my apartment who'd never been homeless, who what he expressed is meant I've never felt so invisible or so shunned. Like what's your experience been coming to Boulder and then going through this?
It's been rough. Just the way people look at me is it's a way, it really stings, and it really helps the cycle of homelessness. It makes you give up because so many people look at you with disgust. And case in point, I was sitting at the ball fields just around the corner here one day, hanging out with friends, and this obviously well-off lady rides off with this really walks around the corner with this really nice dog, and as she's passing, she's like, "You guys are losers. I have 2 houses to hang out with, and you guys are just sitting on your ass." So it's hard because there's a stigma, and it's hard to keep a job because when I get kicked, since I've been kicked out of the shelter, I haven't had a shower in almost 2 weeks because there's no other place for me to get a shower. Sure, I can go to the YMCA or the rec center, but that's $12 for a shower. That could be a good meal somewhere for me.
Right. So I just had an exchange with someone on city staff about federal employees were suffering. That's ended now because of the government shutdown, and near the end of that, the city sent out a message saying, if you're a federal employee who is not getting any money, then we'll provide you bus passes, and you can have a free pass to the rec center.
Oh.
And so I wrote to them and said, gosh, if we sort of provided that level of dignity to our homeless community, to allow them a bus pass and to go to the shelter, go to a rec center and have showers, that would be amazing. But we don't do that.
No.
And what I heard back is, if people go through coordinated entry, then they can get showers at Path to Home, they can get showers at the shelter, and as needed to work on getting out of homelessness, they can get bus passes. I have a feeling that those things are highly qualified, and I would like to hear what that experience has been like.
That's true in a way.
Okay.
When I first got to the shelter, for the first actual 3 months of my shelter, the male showers were broken the entire time. Somebody, the investigation I did, and I found out that there was supposedly a staff member that concreted up the showers because he was tired of cleaning them up. So
someone did that. So if you're, but like right now, you have been through coordinated entry and you haven't had a shower in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, I've went through coordinated entry and I can't get a shower. I try to ask and they say no.
Can you get a bus pass?
No.
All right. When you were in Path to Home before they decided that you should be out, could you get a bus pass? 1
bus pass a day, and we're talking one way. So if I needed to go to Ryan Wellness Center and be there for more than 3 hours, I had to walk back. And that's like almost an hour walk from the Path to Home shelter.
All right. But I am hearing, and I'm kind of surprised, it's not a high threshold to get a bus pass?
No, you have to be on a very specific list. And I think only 10% of the people in the program get one.
So 10% of the people in Path to Home, you would estimate, actually get a bus pass?
Yeah, because that list is very small out of the...
Do you have any idea why? Is it a limited resource?
They say the city's not giving them enough money, is what they tell me when I ask them.
Okay. And again, that goes back to it's not just that Bridge House staff is being stingy.
No,
it's
not.
That they have a resource problem.
They do.
That would be your take. All right. So when I receive an email that says, hey, if you go through coordinated entry, you can get showers and a bus pass. Showers, if you're in Path to Home, are available.
They're only available if you're in the program itself.
Right. And you get exited based on someone's assessment of whether you're doing enough.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's seriously it. There's no fighting it. There's no trying to like explain your situation and tell them, hey, yes, I messed up. I get depressed. Mm-hmm. So in my situation, I messed up a couple times and I get it. But I didn't do anything that should bar me from the help I need to get off these streets.
Can we talk about your depression. You and I have talked. We've both, you know, before we went on camera, you told me your situation. I lost my partner, left recently, and I've never been so low. And it was, with all my resources, it was one of the hardest things I've gone through.
Mm-hmm.
You're going through similar things while relying on homeless services in Boulder.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to share anything you're not comfortable sharing, and I don't want to go, you know, to the uncomfortable areas. But I think it's important for people to know that, you know, you're a person who came here without being homeless.
Mm-hmm.
That you've experienced the kinds of things I've experienced in the same sort of same period
Mm-hmm.
that you have, and you're expected to be making good choices. I've made some bad choices during this period. You know, things worked out for me, and I had a lot of resources. Whatever choices you made, that led to being told you're not doing good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's my depression's been a problem my entire life. I didn't have the easiest of upbringings, but I've always been stubborn and strong and been able to move on. But unfortunately, the situation and the way that this whole homeless system itself, it dehumanizes you. It makes you give up. And it got to the point where I gave up so hard, where even my girlfriend, who loves me to death, said, I can't see you self-destruct. She ended up breaking up with me this morning because she couldn't, she worried every night. She's like, I don't know whether you're going to be safe, whether you're going to get attacked on these streets, whether you're going to be sleeping outside, whether I'm going to get a phone call saying you froze to death. And it was just adding unneeded stress, and we broke up, and it devastated.
That was just today?
It was just this morning, yeah.
I'm sorry, man.
Like right after I woke up, it happened. That's right. I tried talking to her, and she's like, we need to talk. And it leveled me really hard. I was in my typical depressive state, which is me curled in a ball, not responding to everybody. And when people push and try to find out what's wrong, I snap and I yell, leave me alone. Luckily, I have really good and loyal friends that are there for me and have been helping me through this, but other people aren't so lucky. And I have, this situation has gotten me to the point where I even planned out my suicide. Because and this is not the city, this is the case managers themselves inside Path to Home. They made me feel and absolutely believe that I was worthless and that I did not deserve to get off these streets. And that's the way that they made me feel.
What kind of things that they said or implied about you?
Well, I mean, it's the biggest thing is I had this couple that was bullying me in the shelter for a good while, and I would, instead of what the typical stereotypical homeless person would do, talk with their fists. I did the right thing. I went straight to staff. Look, this is what's going on. We're not in high school. Handle this. Nothing happened. He kept going and going until it got physical, where they attacked me. And
where at?
The guy hit me in the nose, right in front of everybody in the shelter.
Inside,
like right after we set up cots, he came up to me as I was just minding my own business, listening to music, and just popped me right in the nose. And I went to staff. They didn't kick him out that night. And when I talked to Michael, the day-to-day director there, he tells me he tells one story, you tell another. The truth is in the middle. And I told him, look, if you ask the people that were there, they would tell you that he hit me. There is no in between. This happened.
And you had been talking to them about it.
Mm-hmm. And it just sucks because they don't seem to care. And when the people that are supposed to be helping us don't care, that's when we stop caring. And we give up. And we start spiraling into either depression, addiction, whatever it is. And it just continues the cycle of homelessness. We get We get inspired to get off the streets. We try really hard. Then something comes along, messes it up. Then we get depressed and we stay on the streets longer. And then it just keeps repeating. And for the past 4 months, it's been exactly that for me. It's been a cycle of inspiration and depression every time. And it's just been me spinning my tires.
What was it you just shared? I mean, you tried to work within the system, not resort to physical violence.
Right. Didn't even raise my voice to staff once.
Right. So what was the last thing that led you to be in severe weather shelter instead of Path to Home?
I got depressed. They put me on a savings contract because honestly I'm horrible with money.
Mm-hmm.
So I promised I would not spend my savings, and I got really depressed, and I had to spend my savings to try to calm myself down.
Mm-hmm.
And when they asked me that following week, it's time to look at the savings, I was like, I spent it. I'm sorry. I got really depressed, and at that point, immediately, they kicked me out.
And what resources do you have to address depression?
I do have the mental health partners. I signed up with them a couple weeks ago, and I'm getting everything figured out there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wasn't too far gone to get respite today because I feel like I was. I was depressed. I was ready to make a change, and I wanted to go to respite to make that change, but unfortunately, I wasn't crazy, I guess.
So what's available through mental health partners? Or do you know?
I don't know much because
Okay.
I've only been there for a bit, but they told me that I'm getting set up with pretty much 3 services. I'm getting the case management through them. I'm getting a psychiatrist and primary care all in one building. So I get that all taken care of. It's pretty sweet.
But so have you accessed any of that yet?
No. My first appointment is next week.
Okay.
So I look forward to doing that.
And I look forward to hearing how it's going. And I've heard concerns about what's available, and it's another one of those resource-starved places that are trying to help a lot of people at the margins. But I hope your experience is good. And
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Because this whole experience since I've got here hasn't been entirely horrible. I mean, the homeless community in Boulder isn't as bad as a lot of people say. Like we're actually one huge family. We really are. We all take care of each other. We look out for each other. There's a few outliers. Every family has their black sheep, you know. But we take care of each other, and we try to take care of this town. We don't like to trash this town. Recently the shelter opened up. The severe weather shelter did a new policy. Once you check in, you can't leave. You can't leave the property whatsoever. Which honestly is a common practice in most severe shelters, but their reasoning is because a lot of the neighbors have been complaining.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's we try to take care of it.
Yeah.
But the complaints the neighbors are getting is us being there, and unfortunately we don't have anywhere else to go. And when they see us,
And when they close severe weather shelter on a night tonight, like tonight, I mean, last time it happened when I saw you, I saw people who probably showed up there, found out it was closed, and then walked, 10, 20 people just walked down to where they were going to stay for the night, which is in the neighborhood nearby.
Yeah.
I mean, where else are people going to go?
Exactly. Even now I'm camped literally a couple buildings down away from the shelter. So because I don't pretty much all my services are right here in this specific spot. I come here to Whole Foods to hang out during the day because I have nowhere else warm to be. At noon I go to Harvest of Hope to get my lunch. Then I hang out depending on whether it's cold or not, either at the ball fields or wherever. But most of the community doesn't leave within a half a mile radius of the shelter, but that's because all of our services are here.
So do they, I heard from someone at city staff that there's a shuttle to take people back and forth from downtown. Do you know anything about it?
I haven't heard a dang thing about that.
Interesting. So when you get up in the morning, they don't offer you a ride back downtown?
No, they don't know. They don't offer you a ride anywhere. They literally say 7:30, get off my property.
Okay, I was curious about that. Well, Steve, do you have any like bright spot stories? Have there been any moments where you saw kindness and you don't have to have one?
Yes, actually, there's a lot of them. There's
okay.
The problem is the people that actually care at the Bridge House are the ones that have absolutely no power. There's 3 people there or 4 now, but there's 4 of the day-to-day staff members that really help us out a lot. They give us moral support. They listen to us. They do whatever they can for us. It's Lori, Jerry, Jen, and Steve. The 4 of them really help so many people. Like when I first got here, Steve was one of the first people I met when I went to the severe weather shelter, and he was a smiling face and a warm welcome in a very crappy situation in my life, and he made me comfortable sleeping in that church basement when we were there. He'd play the guitar, and he's always doing that. It's really cool because he can really play, and it's so relaxing when he's in there just jamming away, and he likes to improv it. Like I walk by and he's like, Steven's over there walking by, probably doing something bad, and I'm like, Steve, come on.
Yeah. Well, there's always bright spots and good people, and that's why I want to keep it in context too.
Yeah.
That the folks who are working the front line, they don't have a lot of resources, and the people who are managing them, they don't have a lot of resources. It comes down to the city spending something like, after spending a couple million to get that building, they're spending just over $100,000 to run it all winter long.
Right.
And, at least the severe weather shelter part of it.
I'm pretty sure this city and county can afford that bill pretty easily.
Well, when they decided not to open severe weather shelter every night through the winter, they estimated between November and February, if they were to say just during those coldest months we're going to open every day, they estimated it would cost $4,000. So that's
cheap.
That's a sneeze.
Yeah. That sugar tax that we have to pay could easily pay for that.
In a day.
In a day, yeah.
In a day. Right. So then they turned it to say, well, people, if we have it there all the time, then people just won't seek housing.
No, that's not the case, because the severe weather shelters, it's not like it's luxury. You're sleeping on the floor with a single blanket, and it gets pretty cold in there, side by side with 70 to 95 other people in a small building. I don't want to be in severe weather shelter. I would rather be in Pattern Home, and that's the sentiment with everybody. They would rather not be on the streets, because it's not a hotel, the severe weather shelter. The way we on the street call it, it's a flop house. Mm-hmm. You go there, doesn't matter if you're drunk, you're high, you go there because it's cold and you sleep. You don't cause any problems, you don't fight, you don't argue, you just do what you're supposed to do. You can stay there, but you cause problems, gone. And it works pretty well that way, but it sucks. It really does.
Right.
Nothing's fun about. Sleeping outside on the grass is more comfortable sometimes than sleeping on the hard concrete floor when you got a bunch of other people. Like last night, I had this guy that kept touching me, just kept rolling over, smushing me, or just straight up trying to cuddle with me, and I'm like, buddy, stop it. So that's not true, and I know the community very well. None of us want to stay in the severe weather shelter for the rest of our lives.
Right. I kind of giggled as you said that, because I had an experience camping with a previous boss and kayaking buddy. We went out and we were camping, and he had like a 4-person tent, and I rolled across the entire tent and was cuddling with him in the night without knowing what I was doing.
Yeah, that happens a lot. We hear a lot of stories about that in the shelter.
But I do also want to say that I was camping. What you're going to do tonight, it's not camping.
I'm surviving. I'm trying to survive. I'm not doing this for fun. I'm doing it because I have no choice.
And you'll be worried about someone coming along.
Mm-hmm.
I set up a tent on the municipal grounds where city council meets a couple of times, sort of raising awareness. And and it's kind of terrifying, like when the bars close and people are walking by drunk and making noise, and all that's between you and some idiot is a nylon wall. And when you're in the mountains, yeah, there's some wild animals, but those are very, very, very rare. You know, drunk people walking by in Boulder, fairly common.
Yeah, but they're not the ones we fear.
Yeah.
We don't fear the drunk person. We don't fear the.
Well, you're down, you know, off 30th. You're in a
we fear
different area.
we honestly just fear the police. We fear that ticket because whatever, I don't know what the cost for the ticket is, but I mean, even if it's a $50 ticket, it's $50 we don't have, and we live in terror a lot of times because we're worried that, you know, the police are going to come by, steal our stuff that we need to survive. I mean,
Does that happen?
It hasn't happened to me, but a lot of my friends have told me that they get woken up and their gear's gone. They take it and they say
The police take their gear?
Police take their gear and
issue a citation or no?
I'm not sure about.
Okay.
I'm sure they get a citation or whatever, but it's no fun because we got to sleep with one eye open because if we hear movement, we got to be ready to react real quick.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate getting to know you, Stephen, and I'm sorry that you're not working. When I met you, you were, and I had some hope you'd get through, but you know, you got a lung infection, you were sick after sleeping outside, this thing that's supposed to motivate you to get a job and get off the street.
It didn't motivate me to get a job. I had a 3-week stint where I wasn't motivated, where I didn't want to do anything. I straight up gave up. I was going to go get disability because I was like, screw this. Like, I get a job, do everything I'm supposed to be doing, and then I still get punished.
Yeah. So you're looking for work now?
I am.
You're ready.
I'm tired of it. I really am. After losing my girlfriend today for something as simple as just me giving up on myself, which caused her to give up on me, it opened my eyes. It relit the fire. So I'm gonna get the heck off these streets. It may take a while, honestly, because the way this system works, I'm looking at another 3-4 months minimum to get off these streets is my realistic estimate.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like Path to Home folks maybe giving you another chance. You're hoping?
Hopefully. And hopefully this time it lasts longer than 2 weeks, unlike last time. Because unfortunately I fight so hard to get back in the program, and then they find whatever excuse to get rid of me.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be going to mental health partners. You're going to have hopefully some support there.
Yes.
Let's check in on how that's going.
Yes, definitely.
And don't forget the Naropa Community Counseling. If you're frustrated with mental health partners, don't give up.
Yeah.
There's other resources and there's other great people out there who are available. But I appreciate that you're going through that. I appreciate your honesty. You know, what I've liked about communicating with you is, you know, if you're pointing at someone else, you also point to yourself and where you've fallen short. And I think being that kind of honest is the path to you know, growing and realizing what you need to do next. And
it's opened a lot of doors for me, and it's definitely helped me gain a lot of respect in the community here. So it works. I love the honesty. Makes a lot of people angry. Like, I do have this guy that's really on my case, but I'd rather be blunt and honest with someone than put wool over their eyes and say no, it's not how it is, because I see the world as it really is, and sadly the world's it's a nasty place, and all we can do is try to make it a little better. But people need to want the change, and not many people do.
Well, I appreciate that you are, as you said, you're among family in our homeless community, our unhoused neighbors in Boulder. And you know, I dropped someone off there today that I had been hanging out with for many days, frostbite on his toes, in a wheelchair, and you know, it felt good to be able to go over to you and say, hey, my friend's here.
Yeah,
make them feel at home.
Yeah, exactly. You know, That's the cool thing. What are the actually just about every one of my good memories in this homelessness has been the community itself. We all have pretty much banded together against a common enemy, and the sad part is the enemy is the people that's supposed to be helping us.
Yeah, it'd be nice to break down that barrier.
It would. It really would, because it would help out so many people.
What do you think's missing there?
The care.
The care.
The care.
The heart.
The heart and the soul is missing. The way I see it, all it is numbers, and it shows with case management. They need to get as many people in and out as soon as possible, so that way they can keep getting more and more funding.
I mean, is severe weather shelter and path to home paid by the person, you think? I mean, I don't even know that's
Paid by what person?
Like how do they need numbers? How does numbers lead to?
I have no idea. The way it feels and the way they treat us is it's a numbers game. If you're not giving them their exact stats that they want, then you're dead to them. You're useless. They'll throw you out and find someone that'll give them a proper result.
So to move on. So I can imagine someone from city human services or maybe even Bridge House saying, look, our goal is to get people out of these services and into their own stable living situation. So in what you were just saying is, they might want to get someone out so they can get someone else in that will show good numbers. And I take good numbers to be people who successfully end up in an apartment or take a bus ticket back to their family or something.
That's their favorite program.
Yeah.
That's that program I dubbed Ship the Problem Back Where It Came From. And they have offered that bus ticket back to Arizona to me at least 20 times, and I've told them, no, Boulder is my home. I plan to make it here.
Yeah.
But
I appreciate you mentioning that because I struggle with the idea that we send people away and then we don't check in to see how successful that was. We call it a success. But the idea that we need to make space for people who are really going to work. I look at you and yeah, you've stumbled a few times, but you were working.
I was.
You're ready to do it again. You've been so sick you've had to go to the ER. You told me you had blood coming out of your ear.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah. So I don't know. Success is helping, is seeing someone, as a whole person and moving back to a whole life.
Yeah. That is it, because a lot of us, we don't have the tools. We're all homeless for our own unique reason, and we don't need a general approach to getting off the streets. Each individual person needs their own unique plan on how to do it, because my way of getting off the streets is going to be much different than somebody else, and then it's going to be the same. But at the same time, doing something like that also gives off the impression of favoritism, and that causes problems too. But something's got to be done. There's not a lot going on right now. There's not much changes, not much good going on. In the entire 4 months I've been there, I think I've only seen one person successfully be a success.
One person in 4 months.
Mm-hmm. He's the only person I've ever seen get a job, get an apartment, and his own apartment, no roommate. He did it all on his own, and he did it. But that had nothing to do with the shelter. That was his own stubborn streak, and he was like, I'm gonna bust my ass to get the heck out of here. And he did. He had 3 jobs to get off. So that was not a success on the shelter. That was a success on him.
Wow.
And that's what they need to look at.
Well, they're reporting 175 people have had a successful planned exit.
Since what time? When do they start
Since
this?
October 2017. You can look.
What do they consider successful?
Well, that's what I'd like to know. They show.
Because I've seen a lot of people get a place in the shelter, but within a month, maybe a couple weeks, they're back trying to get services again. I've seen that happen time and time again.
Well, thank goodness they're allowed to come back. They're allowed. No. What?
No, they don't get to come back.
To Path to Home? What happened?
They get turned away. You got to go to severe weather shelter. You cannot come back to the program.
So I've been told directly that's not true, and you're telling me you know these folks. I want to talk to some of them.
Yeah.
Because if that's happening, then
yeah, I can talk.
The folks who are telling me that you can come back need to know that that's not the experience.
Yeah, that's not the experience whatsoever.
That's not to make anyone wrong. It's to say, what you think is happening, that's not what's happening.
Yeah, that's the problem, is nobody's there.
Yeah.
I don't really ever see any city council members coming to pay a visit to the shelter just to see how things are looking. I don't ever see any of the higher ups of the shelter itself coming in to check in and make sure that their employees are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And they don't. They do a lot of really crappy stuff. Like they did have to fire a staff member because he was having sexual relations with one of the staff members. And he was that same staff member.
Staff member with staff member?
Or not staff member, my bad. The client.
Okay.
And that was the same exact staff member that got me kicked out of the program as retaliation for me throwing out the red flag. Hey man, this is not cool. And I let staff know, and within a short amount of time I was out of the program.
Gotcha.
And it almost got so bad that Paul, one of the staff members there, said that I'm not even allowed in SWS or have a meal there. Luckily, the director, Melissa, there had the decency to override that decision.
Right. And the story, the person who just got fired, people do that in every realm, and the end of that is he got fired.
He got fired, and I haven't seen the lady since. So I don't know if she got kicked out of the program or what happened to her, but ever since that whole thing went down, I haven't seen her.
And I appreciate you didn't name any names on that part. But it's I've gone in there. You've described 70 people in a room with one staff member. One other thing I've heard is that, and again, it's a function of lack of resources, but that, there's no cameras in the back area, and that there's drugs going on. And the last thing I want is for everyone in Boulder to go, oh my God, the shelter has become a drug haven, or a place where drugs are being dealt. But
that's not the case.
But there is some uncomfortable stuff going on. What do you want to say about that?
There is, and that's only because they can get away with it. With one staff member manning the door, signing people in, there is a lot of drug use and drug dealing going on in the back, but that's only because there's no cameras. So when Big Brother's not watching, a lot of stuff happens.
Right. I don't want anyone to get kicked out. No. But I also, can you talk about how safe people feel or don't feel with that going on? Is it?
It's hit or miss. It depends on the person. I've heard people say that they hate it and they want it to stop. Other people, like me, I don't really care. Like,
no one's bugging you.
Nobody's bugging me. Nobody's repeatedly asking me, hey, do you want to buy some shards? And I hear it on occasion, or I hear, hey, I'm about to hit the bubble in the bathroom. You want to join? No, I'm okay, buddy. Weed is all I need. But some people, especially recovering, whatever, addicts, they don't need that kind of environment when they're trying to get off the streets. Mm-hmm. The last thing they need is a dealer pushing the one thing they're trying to get off of when they're at their darkest moment. Because honestly, they're going to say yes, and they do.
Yeah. That's a hard one, right? What you need is more staff.
They do, and
I've heard maybe a camera in the back so that they can monitor.
They're working on it. Unfortunately, from what Michael's told me, city's not giving them the funding for it. And I told him, well, what if I go and buy you a camera system and donate? He said, well, that's not allowed either.
The city is not willing to pay for a camera monitoring system to ensure that people's are
and it's a need, because there's thieves, there's theft rampant in there because when the one staff member either goes out to smoke a cigarette in the middle of the night or goes in the back to do whatever he does, there's nobody watching, and a lot of stuff happens when nobody's watching. Anything from, I've seen people get punched, attacked, I've seen theft, I've seen just straight up sexual assault. Those situations end up getting pretty loud, and the staff member cuts it quick, but at that point it could have been prevented.
Gotcha. All right, well, we've talked about some sensitive stuff, some thoughtful stuff. I appreciate it. You're okay with this being published as is?
Oh yeah.
All right, well, I appreciate your time.
Definitely.
And I appreciate getting to know you.
Yes.
And I wish you all the best. I hope you get a job. We'll talk after I turn this thing off about what that might look like. All right, thanks.
Yes.